Test, test, test.
Johnny, you get that in the truck?
Test, test, test. Test, test, test.
Johnny, you want to put it in the back of the truck right here? Put it in the truck. That outside zone that is white, it goes along the up onto the bank. I need it on the yeah.
Test. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2, test. Test, test. It's a little bit on the loud side. We can turn it down. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Lower. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. That sounds like. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Test, test, test.
Test, test, test.
I don't want the whole foam stick situation again.
started a hemp farm in Sierra Valley, California for my autistic daughter, Elena, and my CBD is 100% organic. The difference between THC and CBD is all natural. It's 100% organic. THC is mind altering. That's not what Golden Grown sells. Golden Grown sells an experience of an organic, natural supplement to make you relax. One of our best sellers is a CBD oral strip. It is absolutely amazing. 100% organic, FDA approved. You take a strip out, you put it on your tongue, it dissolves in your mouth, and it's total relaxation, stress reliever in about 20 minutes. I wouldn't sell something to you that I wouldn't personally have in my own home. Stay tuned for our newest Golden Grown's Bake and Blaze. We are the first and only original home of CBD tech.
Instagram, YouTube. Station.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Competition Day of U.S. Drift Circuit Formula Drift Pro-Am, hosted right here at Sebring International Raceway. This is round 2. Yesterday we finished qualifying, and today we're going to get into our top 32 bracket, which we're a little bit shy of 32, but a lot of these drivers look great in qualifying. How are you feeling about what we're expected to see today?
Oh, I'm so excited for this whole competition. We saw a lot of good competitors yesterday. We even saw a bunch of fireballs. I don't know if you checked out the Instagram pictures, but there was a photo that was particularly nice, and I enjoyed it. So it was a good time yesterday.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start off the day by seeing Alex Puig complete a bye run. I believe he was supposed to be having a battle against Willie Espinoza. Unfortunately, he was not able to pull up to the line. So Alex Puig's just going to start the day off by getting a little bit more practice. He's going to be able to move on and advance throughout the bracket, securing a spot into top 16. And that's going to be a great way to start off the day. He's going to get a little bit more practice. We had some practice before the stream started out, and a lot of these drivers, from what I hear, the judges were telling me they were all working on the problems we saw last night, and that's exactly what we want to hear. So here he goes, Alex Puig coming into the first corner. Let's see what changes he's made over the night and during practice. Coming to that first corner, he's a little bit shallow still. We want to see him, even though this is a bye run, just getting a little bit deeper into that zone, because in the lead position, he's going to need to fulfill that if he wants to make it past the top 16. Getting as much in the bottle as he can here. A little bit worried about overshooting, but gets deep into that outer zone. Looking to see him transition here, get his back bumper, and it looks like he is doing a little bit of donut action out there for you. So Alex Puig, another regular out here. You can always recognize him with a big panda image on the side of his car. He goes by the branding name Pandemonium Drifting. So a really great guy to meet, super nice. He is always out here with his dad. They're a father and son duo that are always out here, just killing it, being part of the local drifting community. So, you know, very excited to see what he's going to do today. I'm sure he's got much more in the tank than what we just saw on a bye run.
Yeah, he filled out most of the zones pretty well throughout the whole track, and it's actually good to see him actually incorporate what he learned from practice into the now buy run that he ran. So.
Well, your next battle isn't ready either because I guess since we didn't have a meeting or something, these guys all don't know that they were supposed to be out there. We definitely 100% had a meeting. Okay? Oh, definitely 100% had a meeting. When we can put the next battle to the line, everybody, some people put on 5 minutes, then, then you're done. Okay, so that means that he's putting his guy from John Temple to the line.
Yeah, all these drivers should know that, like, hey, we're starting at 11. We even started late. They should be there, suited up, and ready to go. Like, we should have the next couple battles ready.
Just an FYI, guys, I'm not gonna lie. So the next battle that comes to line, everybody before them and wait for a 5-minute call. Oh, you said there was more flowers?
It's full.
We're about 2.5 bags on this golf cart over here.
Where's Paul? Is he down here, or is he doing 5
Okay,
Paul, our driver.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Whatever battle will go first, everybody before them.
So right now we're having some driver issues. We're gonna get the drivers lined up, get us situated. I hope everybody's excited to see some battles today, and especially coming out in Sebring with this new layout. Everybody that has been out here before seeing the qualifications, we've seen some struggles compared to the transition in the beginning, and then also that transition to the final inner clip. And I'm very actually kind of curious about how these guys are going to attack this course as a chase driver. We have a lot of people out here, especially we have some people out there that are chilling on their phones, getting ready for their exciting runs and recordings for Instagram.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day today. Lots of action, and unfortunately, we're also going to be dealing with a lot of the same heat we dealt with yesterday. A lot of the drivers were doing the best they could to not just have their cars survive the heat, but them themselves. If you're not out here with a cool suit or you don't have a plan to stay cool, stay hydrated, then it definitely takes a toll on the drivers. They're not able to stay as focused. They're not able to sit there and get as many runs out. They have to take breaks even. So hoping that at least we'll see a little bit of a change in weather right now. If you're a Florida local, then you know that every 10 minutes, the weather could be completely different than how it was just prior. So hoping that all these drivers are making good use. Now, the reason why we're just having a brief delay right now is because we're just waiting for all of the drivers to come up to the line. So we appreciate you guys watching with us and sticking with us. Just please give us a brief moment. We're going to cut to commercial break. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Nico Christidis, the owner of Golden Grown. I started a hemp farm in Sierra Valley, California for my autistic daughter, Elena, and my CBD is 100% organic. The difference between THC and CBD is all natural. It's 100% organic. THC is mind altering. That's not what Golden Grown sells. Golden Grown sells an experience of an organic, natural supplement to make you relax. One of our best sellers is a CBD oral strip. It is absolutely amazing. 100% organic, FDA approved. You take a strip out, you put it on your tongue, it dissolves in your mouth, and it's total relaxation, stress reliever in about 20 minutes. I wouldn't sell something to you that I wouldn't personally have in my own home. Stay tuned for our newest Golden Grown's Bake and Blaze. We are the first and only original home of CBD tech.
Instagram, YouTube. Station.
All right, and we're back. Thank you so much for holding tight. We are now about to go into our first official tandem battle of our top 32 competition. Our next competitors up to the line are going to be Andrew Grindle and Sergio Hanazono, and they are about to leave the line right now. I'm excited to see this first battle. Let's see what we're going to make of it. We have a Corvette in the lead position, S14 with an LS swap in the chase. Or not an LS turbo car, I believe, actually. Here we go. Good proximity right off of the bat. The Corvette doing the best he can to get to that outer zone. Now making his way to that inner clip. We're looking for a lot of opportunity to stay close here on this big sweeper as the Corvette does a good job executing that outer line. Purple S14 doing the best he can to just keep him close and not let him get any distance coming across that outer zone. And now looking to just finish off the run cleanly. We have a decent lead run for our first battle and a decent chase. I mean, that's not too bad getting the thing started over here at Sebring.
Oh, man, that's how you start off a run. My goodness, how he came out right off the gate being aggressive, trying to get that proximity as soon as that initiation happened. And then he was keeping the same consistent proximity throughout the whole track, where we saw that choke up, especially in that final transition into the inner clip. That's when he had to kind of slow down a little bit, coast to try to wait for that transition and get back onto his proximity. So let's see if the next competitor can actually get some doors, baby.
Yeah, and right here we saw a little bit of conservatism in the driving. We at least know that there's a lot more aggression left in the tank, but for the most part, you want to get a clean run in here without needing to do anything stupid that's going to take you out of the competition. A lot of these guys know exactly how to dial their driving aggression, almost down to a percent and go and say, I'm going to drive this run 70%, 80%, and work my way up as we get deeper into the competition. So I think that was a really great driving amount to just apply to that run. He did a great job just getting out there, trying to get to the zones, make sure it's a complete run, and then same thing from the chase driver, doing a good job just not letting the lead driver get away and trying to also just stick there with them throughout the entire run.
Yeah, you also noticed at the end of the final outer zone, he kind of had to surge to get that proximity, and we're seeing these guys get ready and lined up. We're going to have them switch sides. If you haven't seen a drift battle before, they switch sides. Now we have Sergio is in the lead, and we have Andrew is going to be in the chase. We'll see how they perform. Let's see if they could actually do a solid picture pose when they're coming around that outer zone. That'll be sick.
Yeah, and we have a constant theme that comes up when it comes to drifting competitions, which is this is a this is a judge motorsport. So because of that, you just don't want to leave things in the judges' hands. They're experts. They're able to sit there and take apart these runs. If they need to pick a run and a winner, they can scrutinize it down to the ground if they need to. But as a driver, you really don't want to let it come to that. You want it to be an obvious decision. And right now, after that run, I think there's still plenty of meat on the bone for either of these drivers to either get closer in the chase position or have a better, what would be a good qualifying run in the lead position.
Yeah, and especially we were talking about before how these competitors have to kind of ramp their effectiveness out more and more throughout the competition. We have to see if they start off with mild sauce or if they start off with sriracha. But anyway, we have them flip-flop. You got the S-Chassis in the lead, Chevy Corvette in the chase. Now he comes in, filling out that outer zone. That Corvette needs to get that proximity, and he needs to reel him in as the S-Chassis is coming around. Nice transition, filling out the outer zone, a tire drop. Here comes the Chevy Corvette all the way around, getting a nice, good, consistent chase run. Now is that transition all the way to that final inner clip. Oh, there is a spur now. My goodness, that is so unfortunate for that S chassis, man. It was getting so good, so spicy, and then that transition is going to be a killer today.
Yeah, that was a really big change of events, and it just shows how quickly things can change in drifting, because up to that spin, it really did look like Andrew Grindle was not being able to close as good of a gap, and Sergio was doing a way better lead run. If he had just finished out that run, I think there's a chance he would have came out of that battle as a winner. And just like that, in a split second, it's a spin that equals a 0. And once again, an easy decision for the judges, but not the kind of easy decision you want them to be able to make. It's not because of a 0 you want it to be easy. You want it to be because you just rose to the occasion and beyond.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate when you see those types of spin outs, especially this early in the competition. He probably might carry that on to the further rounds and be like, oh, I spun out first in the top 32. Am I going to do it again? But these guys, I put out a show run after run today, so I'm happy on what they did.
Yeah, and these cars did an amazing job. Both of these drivers should be very proud about what they just did to kind of start off the day. I mean, they've had a lot of time to practice yesterday. They had time to practice this morning. You're driving a car sideways. At any point, it's very easy for the car to just get lost from underneath you. These are both very skilled drivers. And like I said, I mean, I think that genuinely, if it weren't for the spin, there's a chance he might have had the advantage in the judges' eyes. But we're just going to wait for the official call here in deliberation from the judges. In the meantime, thank you again to our sponsors, Kenda Tire, Golden Grown, Shift Culture, Claim Defenders, OMP Racing. All of these sponsors work so hard to come out to these events and support this series, and it really does create an amazing stage for these drivers to get one step closer to becoming Formula Drift professional drivers. And so thank you again to all of our sponsors that are out here. A handful of them are out here in full force, meaning they not only sponsor the series, but they have drivers. Taxi Garage is a great example of a company just like that. Taxi Garage is known for their viral videos online and selling their crazy custom drift carts. You can talk to them, and there's about nothing you can imagine that you'd want in a crazy cart that these guys aren't willing to put together for you. And it only makes it that much better that they're drifting carts, and they have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I kind of seeing those carts, we're seeing the cars drive off, but when they're doing the drifting with the little go-karts, I'm a little too pleasantly plump for that. I feel like I might be top heavy and roll over. I don't want to do that.
And we have the official judging there. That was just issued. So, yes, Andrew Grindle is going to move on. Andrew Grindle moving on to the next round of competition. That's a result of that spin being a 0. So, of course, we saw that coming. And, most of these times we can kind of, as announcers, see what's going on track. We see the same thing you see. We can only assume the judges will be on the same page. Every now and then we catch a little bit of chatter up here because we are sharing the same booth. But definitely for the more technical runs that are going on, our guess is just as good as anyone else's. And that's why we have some awesome judges up here just tearing apart every run.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about, when we talk about technical runs, we're also talking about like how if they both have the same similar run, you have to like nitpick at every little thing, especially as a judge. And it's so interesting when I see these experienced judges in front of us coming into the conclusion of what they decide.
And making their way over to the burnout box now is Brandon Cox and John Temple. So John Temple was having a little bit of trouble yesterday. We saw him over here in qualifying, and he went into the knockout qualifying run because of the fact that in his first qualifying run, he unfortunately went 2 tires off. It's amounted to a 0, and then in the knockout qualifying run, he did put down one of the lower scores of the night, but we were talking all night last night about just securing a spot for today. So he's had time, if there was any issues with the car, if there's anything he needed to work out, to really think about it. And then there was practice this morning. Unfortunately, we weren't able to watch and see how he's doing in practice. I hope he was able to kill it and get really comfortable, and because we know he's up against a fierce competitor. We saw Brandon Cox do a qualifying run yesterday as well, and we knew that he's very smooth in that Corvette. So let's see what's going to happen now. It looks like Brandon Cox is going to go ahead and kick things off in the lead position, and we're going to have John Temple giving chase. So far, side by side, going into the first corner, we're going to see Brandon Cox make an initiation, floating to that outside zone. Yeah. John Temple doing a good job staying outside wide, but losing a little bit of that proximity. He does look way more comfortable behind the car today, so let's see if he's going to execute the rest of that run. Brandon Cox staying out wide. John Temple comes in, makes small adjustments to try and get closer. Doing a good job reeling them in as we come across the last couple corners. Both of them sweeping past that last outer zone and across that late apex clip and across the line.
Wow, that was loud. coming out here with the American Muscle, just being rowdy, going all the way around. We're gonna see the replay come up on the screen as these guys are coming in here feisty. That Chevy Corvette comes in. It was a little shallow in the beginning of the entry, coming out, filling out the whole zone. I wish there was more of a chase from the S chassis coming around, and then all of a sudden you saw a slight tire drop towards the end of that outer zone. That's going to be looked at very heavily from the judges. But then this is what we were talking about yesterday, the struggle with this transition. These guys have to dive into that inner clip, and especially have like a car that wide. It might be a struggle a little bit for them to actually be able to dive into that.
Well, and right now we saw, I think, a lot of momentum carried from yesterday to today. Brandon Cox was on it all day yesterday. He just did a great lead run showing that he knows how to execute what the judges are asking for. Minus a couple mistakes here and there, he at least fulfilled most of the criteria by keeping the car on track and where it needs to be. And John Temple rising to the occasion there, doing a good job. John Temple having a lot of problems yesterday and throughout practice yesterday even. Now being able to at least stay that close, I'm sure regardless of the outcome, he's happy with his performance in that run.
Yeah, Brandon Cox is now going to be in the chase, and John Temple is going to be in the lead. We're going to see how they perform, especially with that Chevy Corvette being a little more rowdy and feisty. We're going to see how he actually initiates into this first outer zone. Here he goes. Oh, there's a shutdown on the line. It was a restart. Getting those guys come back. Can you explain a little bit about the restarts? When you see that?
Yeah, so if this is your first time joining us for a drift competition, or maybe you just need a reminder, when these guys are leaving the line, there's an homage of cones surrounding them there. And the reason why is because we want the lead driver to have to drive through a chicane for the chase driver to be able to drive straight. And that stops her from being a huge gap going into the first corner of the track. At any time one of these drivers knocks over one of those cones, we go ahead and we turn on and illuminate a light heading towards turn one, and it just lets the drivers know, hey, listen, a cone was hit over. You guys actually need to shut it down, come back to the line, and start over. So that is not going to count against any of the drivers as far as scoring goes. They are going to have to go back and get it right. They're only given a couple chances to go ahead and get a clean start, and it looks like they're going to get that clean start now as they hear both cars roaring up. John Temple in the lead, Brandon Cox in the chase. Right now, we're looking to see John Temple get way further on that outer zone. He does a great job of filling it, keeping consistent angle, but Brandon Cox is breathing down his back as they make their way into the second sweeper, filling that outer zone.
Yeah.
Right now, John Temple is going to need to keep it on track and keep his composure as he knows that he's got a Goliath breathing down his back, and we know that he's coming into this as a David with the lower qualifying score, making his way across that last clip. And it looks like he might have had a shutdown before crossing the line at the end of the run.
That's a little bad going into that, especially when we're talking about shutdowns and going across that line at the end of the run. You need to be in a constant drift throughout that. After that, you could straighten out and drive up. We're going to see the judges how they look at this, but when we saw this whole run, the Chevy Corvette shallowed up an angle to try to get that proximity into him in that first outer zone, which was nice to see. But then coming into the transition, he had to kind of back off a little bit and then catch back up. On the final inner clip, I think that was one of the solid chase runs that we've seen today.
Yeah, I mean, he did a phenomenal job. That was a great improvement from what we saw yesterday out of John Temple. And coming across the line, unfortunately, I mean, if you're watching on the live stream, you can actually see a painted horizontal line. If you're here in person, you can just see two last orange cones after that last white clip. So they need to make it through those cones with full throttle, with full commitment. We're looking at that replay right now as we can see as they're making that approach. We're going to be able to get a better angle from the drone footage here. So making his way across there, he did miss that outer zone before coming towards the last clip. And it looks like right there, yeah, he's completely out of drift. All tires are just flat on the ground, and he's driving straight across the line. So I'm sure the judges, that was a bright blinking light for them.
Yeah, and with that final auto zone, we were talking yesterday while having some dinner, and how that final outer zone, how they could have to kind of like dive and just scoot their butt around. It's a pretty interesting.
All right, so the verdict's official there from the judges. Brandon Cox got the win. Brandon Cox got the win. And John Temple, while he is unfortunately going back, and that's going to be the end of his participation in this competition today, I'm hoping he's giving himself a good pat on the back, because honestly, he did some tremendous driving. It was just a shutdown at the end of the run. It would have been nice to see it critiqued, and I think he definitely put some work in on that run.
Yeah, that run, if he actually completed it, it would have been a kind of interesting kind of call for the judges. So you have to kind of nitpick. Those are the type of runs that you see a nitpick if he actually completed that run. But we have our next competitors out here in the burnout box, getting their tires scrubbed up and ready. Oh, mercy. We're going to have some fun with these.
Yeah, let's talk about these guys that are up next. We have Louis Lunz and Marcelo Zalpa. Both of these guys are absolute heaters in competition. And one of the fun facts about this battle, a lot of people are used to seeing these types of drivers go against each other later in the latter portion of competition. The reason we're not seeing that today is because Louis Lunz had some trouble in qualifying. We saw him in his first run in qualifying drop 2 tires off the track, and unfortunately amounting to a 0, and he had to get in the game by doing a knockout qualifier lap. So he was able to at least qualify somewhere. He ends up lower in the bracket, whereas Marcelo Zalpa, he was sitting at the top of the bracket. So now you have 2 Titans who would hopefully see each other later in competition, and unfortunately, it will have to be the end of the road for one of them.
Yeah, Clash of the Titans right off the rip. I'm so excited for this kind of matchup. We have these drivers lined up. Now we're going to see them get ready. Here we go. Chevy Corvette is now in the chase. BMW in the lead, coming in with a nice aggressive flick into that first outer zone, possibly a tire drop. Now we're getting to that proximity all the way around, punting a cone, going to that inner clip, getting extra spicy into that final outer zone. Let's see this Chevy Corvette get that proximity, get all the way doors, baby. Oh, mercy. Right off the rip, transition into that final inner clip, had to slow down, and my goodness. Doors, Alec. Oh, my God.
It looks like there was a lot of aggression right now. These guys know that they have to battle like this is a final if they want to move on. Unfortunately, I'm curious to see something I might have spotted. I think Louis Lunz might have gotten a little too greedy trying to get that proximity. We saw him in that second sweeper just commit everything he had in the bank just to get door to door with his competitor. And unfortunately, it looks like that's going to be a tough calling for the judges. But at the same time, there's a couple big mistakes there. It was really cool to see door to door. It looks like for a moment there, the Corvette almost completely straightened, and Marcelo Zalpa might have dropped 2 tires. So in that situation, the judges, after all that aggression, might have to assess some pretty big mistakes.
My goodness, this is going to be an interesting kind of run, especially if that was possible. The spotters are looking at it and seeing that, hey, you dropped 2 tires. I need you to be gangster right now and pull out a banger run. Yeah, this is what's going to have to happen for these 2 competitors. Now we have them flip-flop, and the Chevy Corvette is now in the lead, getting ready. It has to do a performance right here as a lead to get that BMW to possibly lose his chance.
So now the judges are just working on a couple technical difficulties trying to get the footage of the drone up. We talked about this yesterday. They do have a way to navigate the runs and judge them accurately, which is they have their own way to observe the drone footage in slow motion. And they have a dial they can turn to move frame by frame if they need to. And in a case like this, with a run like this, I think it's very necessary they have that resource.
Yeah, especially when these 2 guys are out here just giving it all. You need those resources in order to be able to make the right decision for this whole battle. All right. We're waiting for the lights. We have Louis in the lead. Marcelo in the chase. Marcelo's in that nice livery coming in here. Here they go. Louis coming in here, getting very aggressive with the Chevy Corvette. Nice good flick into that first outer zone, getting shallow angle into all the way. There is a tire drop from Marcelo going into that inner clip, going to that final outer zone. Louis is out here putting out some work, filling all that zone, and coming into this transition, doing a nice job sending his back end all the way around and hitting that final inner clip. That is a great run, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, mercy.
All right, so the judges are going to have to sit here and deliberate this one. We saw some pretty big mistakes, while we also saw some really impressive driving. So aggression is sometimes it pays off, sometimes there's big consequences to it. In this case, as exciting as that was to watch, I think we're measuring mistakes on this one.
Yeah, you're going to be definitely measuring mistakes, especially when you're trying to analyze what was happening. And we're looking at that Lewis gets the win and continues on in this bracket. Oh, good work from both of the drivers. Yeah.
All right, so Lewis Lund celebrating a little bit as he makes his way back to the pit. So coming from the bottom of the qualifying grid and now able to make his way up against one of the top qualifiers. I bet he's feeling pretty happy right now. And, it's going to be a pretty long day today. I'm really excited he gets to be a part of it. And it looks like ultimately what it came down to is Marcelo Zappa dropping 2 tires and on multiple occasions, actually.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he did drop 2 tires going all the way around. Even on this chase, he dropped 2 tires. As these guys are going to be coming through the burnout box, what's the one battle you're actually excited for today to see now?
I mean, I'm excited to get later on. I feel like when we get to our top 8, based on who's on it today, I think that our top 8 is going to be something really special. And right now, all of these guys deserve the opportunity to fight for their place, and a lot of them are coming up to the occasion, and they're not leaving anything left on the track. And right now, we have our next battle heating up their tires. Looks like it's going to be Davey Peoples versus Vinicius Trindade. Sorry again if I'm pronouncing that name horribly wrong, but Davey Peoples is out here in a Mustang. He's out here always shredding in practice. He's very comfortable in that car. We also saw him last season, so he's another regular to us here at US Drift Circuit. So we're excited to see what's going to happen as far as how this battle is going to shape up. Davey Peoples is going to go ahead and lead. And then Vinicius Trindade is going to be in the chase position. All right, here we go. We are off the line. Davey Peoples is going to lead. Vinicius Trindade going to give chase. Let's see what Davey Peoples is going to put together in the lead position. It looks like he takes a little bit of time getting to that outer zone, and he's got someone breathing down his back because of it. Coming a little bit shallow. The other driver just took the opportunity to get close. A little bit of trouble on that transition as he makes his way in the chase position to try and get close to his door. Davey Peoples filling that outer zone as he makes his way to the last outer clip. Touch and go. Diving in now past that last outer apex. And, a spin in the chase position.
Oh, no, he spun. But now we're looking at that spin. If that's going to be an issue for the round and the battle, if Peoples didn't if he didn't extend out, and it looked like he just cut straight in and dove into that final inner clip, that's possibly what caused that spin out for the chase.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers are going to get pinched on this track. I mean, they come into the latter portion of the track, and if their track awareness is not very high and they don't realize that they're running out of room, then they don't have a lot of options, and they're going to have to employ some really technical maneuvers to just keep the car sideways without either straightening or over-rotating. And already we've seen a little mixture of both of those here, both in the lead and the chase.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about track awareness is a very, very great term, especially when you're talking about a guy like Peoples out here being really loud and rowdy. Some people say don't look back. One is probably impossible to look back as a driver, but 2, you hear him. So if he's breathing down your neck, that's when it gets a little scary, especially as the lead driver, and you're worried about that contact being made. As we're getting them flipping around, now we see them coming out here with the Ford Mustang in the chase. Nice little conservative initiation from the lead car. Coming all the way around. Ford Mustang is trying to get that close proximity. We're using that lead car as a moving inner clip. There's a punted cone. Oh, my God. Going all the way into the final inner clip. And another spin out. Well, that cone was punted at Mock Jesus to the guys on the wall. I'm so happy that they have quick reflexes. I saw one dude duck.
Yeah, and a great job by Davey Peoples there, just avoiding that incident. That was a really quick brake check there to just stay out of the way and not have a collision take place. So commend him for that. And also, you know, I think that lead driver had the right idea in mind. I mean, Vinicius Trindade realized that he had a 0, but now it's not like he was going to chase second, so he wasn't going to get the chance to put pressure on the lead car.
Yep.
So the only thing you can do from the lead position if you've spun as the chase and already is just try to get as far ahead of your competitor as possible. Hopefully, hope that you outpacing him, getting lots of grip and traction will cause the driver behind you to rush and maybe wash off track and get a 0 by dropping 2 tires. I mean, that's really all you could do, and I feel like we saw exactly that. He came out here full throttle, full commitment, just trying to make his way through the track as quickly as possible and hit all the zones. And unfortunately, he ended up being the one to make the mistake.
Yeah, when we have the guys over here on that wall, they're getting used and abused during the runs. We're seeing the replay going out. We're seeing a tire drop from that lead car in that outer zone coming into his inner clip, being extra spicy going into that. Cone gets punted as he is filling out that final outer zone, and then he just dives to try to get that final inner clip. But hey, I commend the people that are on the wall right now. They got flamethrowered yesterday, and now they're getting cones launched at them.
So we're starting to shape up our top 16 pretty quickly. The reason for this also being that we have a not a full top 32 bracket, so we do have some bye runs. That's going to make things go by pretty quickly. And Davey Peoples looks like he's officially taken the win on that one. Davey Peoples moving on to the next round of competition.
Good job, Davey Peoples. It's so cool to come out to, we were talking about yesterday how I do virtual, and I'm not used to see people out in lawn chairs over there in the parking area. I don't know if you guys can see that on the cameras. They're just chilling with their lawn chairs, enjoying the smoke show going on that final wall. It's really refreshing to see these guys having a good time out there.
All right, so right now we are just getting our next drivers up to bat. So Davey Peoples is moving on to the next round. We're about to be moving into our top 16, and we're hoping to keep a pretty good pace for you guys out there. We know it's a hot day, and we also know that we have some later on weather that's going to be rolling in. We're just hoping the weather's not going to shut anything down. So working on getting all the drivers up, going to try to just stack the battles back to back and just take a quick moment to get everyone situated. So we're going to go to commercial break for just a moment. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere, but a quick word from our sponsors and everyone that's partnering with us. Thank you so much.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Nico Christidis, the owner of Golden Grown. I started a hemp farm in Sierra Valley. Hey, how you doing? I'm Nico Christidis, the owner of Golden Grown. I started a hemp farm in Sierra Valley, California for my autistic daughter, Elena, and my CBD is 100% organic. The difference between THC and CBD is all natural. It's 100% organic. THC is mind altering. That's not what Golden Grown sells. Golden Grown sells an experience of an organic, natural supplement to make you relax. One of our best sellers is a CBD oral strip. It is absolutely amazing. 100% organic, FDA approved. You take a strip out, you put it on your tongue, it dissolves in your mouth, and it's total relaxation, stress reliever in about 20 minutes. I wouldn't sell something to you that I wouldn't personally have in my own home. Stay tuned for our newest Golden Grown's Bake and Blaze. We are the first and only original home of CBD pizza.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, from that quick, small commercial break. And while we just get all the drivers situated, we are now officially starting our top 16. So we've navigated through top 32. We had a handful of bye runs that we were going to institute there, and we're not going to have them come out and do the rest of the solo runs. We really want to keep the day moving and keep the action on track. So we went ahead and we got some drivers lined up. Some of them, it was their turn, and unfortunately, they were not prepared. So some of the 5-minute times out are going to be, the judges have the power to enforce that. They're going to be able to evaluate who has not pulled up to the line in time. But now we are sending our next battle to the burnout box, and it looks like we're going to have a good battle of local boys in Florida that are always part of US Drift Circuit events, and that's going to be Nick Ward with Taxi Garage versus Alex Buick driving the S13 labeled Pandemonium. And both these drivers, locals, they've seen each other plenty of times at the track. But Nick Ward coming in here with fierce momentum throughout the championship. And we know that Alex Buick had a little bit of trouble. And on his bye run, the only one that got to run it earlier today, he ended up having a spin on track. So, hoping that he's going to be able to anchor in all of his lessons throughout the weekend and put together a pretty good tandem battle for us.
Yeah, well, Nick Ward is definitely coming in with momentum. He's going to be in the lead now. Last competition, we see him going ham in the finals, but we have Alex Buick out here in the chase. We're waiting for the green lights as we get them set up.
We have cars on the line ready to go. I need track staff to get off the track now.
All right, so we're just waiting just a moment for our track staff to go ahead and get off track while we go ahead and watch these guys sit there and prepare for the battle that's going to determine who's going to make it on to the Great 8 of this competition.
I could just imagine the nerves of these drivers. Like, as soon as they're at that line, their hands are shaking, white knuckling, and then they just got to learn how to kind of relax themselves and say, hey, I've been doing this all day yesterday. I did it this morning. I know what I need to do to go through this track and actually be successful. That's all they need to do. They just got to calm themselves out. Chill, dude.
Well, in this case, these guys are definitely locals to each other. They know each other, so it helps them get a little bit cool and collected. Here we have Nick Ward in the chase. Let's see if he's going to lock out in that outside zone in the lead position. Does a great job filling that outside zone while Alex Buick doing the best he can to reel him in, taking a bit more of an inside line to go ahead and get closer door to door with him as Nick Ward filling again that second outer zone. We have what looks like an amazing lead run from Nick Ward for a great qualifying run even. And then Alex Buick doing the best he can, staying close to him, a little bit falling apart at the end there. And then as they get across the line, there we go, a great tandem run from both of these guys.
Yeah, buddy. My man came in feisty going into that final outer zone. You saw the weight transfer and him settle down. And then towards the end, in the beginning, you see him fill out that first outer zone going all the way around. The proximity from the chase run was actually fantastic and consistent. But this surge coming into this final outer zone was immaculate from that chase driver going all the way around. He's straight up putting Pandemonium out here on the track. The transition, though, on that decel zone to the final inner clip, it's kind of little let's say, slow a little bit for that chase guy to try to get that surge in that final clip.
Yeah, I mean, you touched right on, you hit the nail on the head with all the main points of that run. I mean, Nick Ward, we expect him to rise to the occasion. He does great lead runs, he does great qualifying runs, and he did a great job filling all those outer zones. Alex Puig seeming to drop any of the nerves that were bothering him earlier, though, and doing a phenomenal job staying close up until we saw that one choke going into that last inner zone. So, you know, definitely unfortunate to see that little mistake get pinched up. I think he did a great job using the rest of the course to try and stay close, making the right decisions of when to cut the line, when to try and get proximity. And now we're going to see things switch up, and I think it's still early enough in this battle with that kind of a result that it could be anyone's game still going into the second run.
Definitely, especially when we have Nick Ward in the chase now. And Alex is going to be in the lead. And Alex, not the commentator, the driver, but we're getting them set up. Here they come. Alex in the lead, getting a nice gradual flick. Oh, he actually extends it out into that first outer zone, getting nice and fill out, going into the dive into his inner clip, puts that inner clip cone. Here comes Nick Ward coming all the way around. Lead car tire drops a little bit. Nick Ward coming in and trying to get a nice proximity. The surge on that choke point was insane. Oh, no.
That is a night and day difference there from Alex Puig. You can tell that he means business and he wants this to win really bad as he executes that line, gets out there, and we saw him just drive that run better than I've seen him running it all day yesterday. He must have definitely taken some input and made some adjustments because that's a whole different version of him that I've seen all weekend.
Yeah, Nick Ward coming into that inner clip did a fantastic job on surging into that outer zone, and then even surged onto that choke point, that final choke point, which was crazy to see. And then going into this final inner clip, there might have been some contact, as we see on that replay, that made him spin.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. The judges are going to have to take a look at what that was, and this is an area where we have to pay close attention to that last shutoff zone. So there's that line that they need to cross when they finish out the run. Nick Ward almost spinning across it, but seeming to kind of be in the process of just getting a ton of angle and trying to prevent the spin as he got across that line. So it's going to be interesting to see how the judges are going to interpret that as he makes his way over in the chase position. I mean, where that contact was made was pretty light, and it was also in a complete throttle zone, and Alex Puig was hard on the gas coming out there. So, you know, it may be something that judges might interpret where, you know, Nick Ward might have just been a little too aggressive and just went ahead and made contact by throttling and just trying to stay close. But at the same time, it's also going to have to be elaborated what happened immediately after that is if he got a little too greedy, got up there and caused that contact, and then he's the one that got affected and he was in the process of spinning or trying to avoid spinning, that's going to be a big deal. And judges will interpret that not necessarily as a good thing.
It's definitely more of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, especially being in the chase. Like, damned if you do a good chase run and then you make a little bit of contact where you shouldn't have. But we're going to see what the judges say.
All right, so we have the official verdict on that one is that Alex Puig gets the win and is moving on to your grade 8. Alex Puig with the win, knocking out Nick Ward, and that's going to be something that shakes up the championship points quite a bit.
This is starting to become reckless today. I'm loving it, especially when you have Nick Ward that was coming in with some momentum, and Alex just gave him that 1-2-3 combination and knocked him out.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen here. I mean, we saw Alex Puig, if you watched qualifying yesterday, he was having trouble on this course. I mean, he was doing the best he could, and it just seemed like there were some trouble points for him. And right now, I bet that he's taking a big sigh of relief because not only is this a great result for him, but it's got to be a breath and of relaxation for him to know, okay, cool, like, now that I've just done that, I need to just repeat it throughout the rest of the day. It's a big confidence boost.
Yeah, and this is where it comes into the fact if you're complacent and then say, oh, I knocked out the big guy, I don't have to worry about it. That is not the case in any kind of drift competition, and is what I love about this, that it doesn't matter who you are. You could be the Vaughn Gittins, you could be the Chris Forsbergs, you could be the Chelsea Denofas, but when you get to a competition, everybody's game. Those guys, they've been in the league and been in the whole competition for a long time, but they can get knocked out at top 32 or even top 16.
And we should have another treat to watch here in our next battle, as we're going to have Colette Davis going against Ryan Acevedo. Ryan Acevedo, we know, is a driver that's been here with us. He was here with us last season, and he's been a very triumphant driver this season. And we know Colette Davis is now joining us in U.S. Drift Circuit for her first Pro-Am round of competition. Let's see what's going to happen as Ryan Acevedo making his initiation into that outside zone. Looking like it's out there. Colette Davis looks like she way overshoots it, though. That might be 2 tires off. We'll have to look back at the drone footage. I just got a quick glimpse of it as Ryan Acevedo has a commanding lead with lots of grip, good consistent angle, filling out that last sweeper as he makes his way into this choke point. Let's see if he'll make it through the flick without any issues. And just what I would expect, Ryan Acevedo finishing that run out beautifully, looking great. Looked like Colette Davis might have had a little bit of trouble there, though.
Yeah, the first outer zone, it seemed like she kind of lagged behind. We're going to see the replay coming up. Acevedo coming in with a nice weight transfer initiation into it. Colette Davis actually tire drops on that first outer zone, and that is a nightmare for her in that zebra stripes looking colored Chevy Corvette coming into this final outer zone. Then it seems like after that, after she tire dropped, she's like, all right, let's have some fun. Let me try to get that proximity down.
Yeah, we've talked about some of the real big characteristics of this track, and one of them is that when you start to lose momentum or you make a mistake, it can be really hard to get back into the rhythm of the rest of the track. So once again, kudos to her for being able to put together the last couple corners. And this track has some pretty unique characteristics that are becoming new to it throughout the day. And to name a few, I mean, we already know that there's a difference in material on this track. Where they're making that entry, it's tarmac, and then I took you out there yesterday as announcers. We were just walking to kind of see what the drivers are dealing with, and it goes to that other concrete slab that's a lot more slick. So Colette, when she dropped the 1 tire, it was probably much easier for the other tire to fall off, almost making it a full 3 tires off track. And then the only other area she washed out is the new characteristic to the track, which is all this tire marble that's out there. We now have 2 full days of drifting. We just came out of practice right before going into competition. So now all of that tire marbles and tire dust that's out there, it just acts like ice. And the moment your tires get onto it, you're just going to slip, you're going to lose traction. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to get out of it. And we saw her right as she tried to recommit, just run into that same problem. So here we go. Now she's going to be in the lead position. Ryan Acevedo is going to give chase. Let's see how Colette does with one of our regulars breathing down her back. We're wishing her good luck right here. We want to see her put together a good run, doing a good job getting on that outside zone, but Ryan Acevedo is right there. She's now transitioning. We want to see full commitment on the throttle here. And we hear that engine rise up, and she gets it really deep into that outside zone, but Ryan Acevedo taking his time, analyzing every move she makes, and just having a clean chase run as they make their way across the line.
Acevedo! Give it up out there. Man, that final interclip, how he got real spicy and got close to him, it was amazing to see. We're going to see the replay over here as Colette was a really shallow line trying to fill out the first out of zone. Acevedo is coming in, trying to get that proximity in that first interclip, and now Colette actually throttles through that final outer zone, what we've been wanting to see throughout the competition, through qualifying, and she does a fantastic job, but Acevedo comes out of nowhere and gets right into the pocket in that final interclip. It was great.
And watching both these drivers, it just goes to show, too, that, I mean, Colette having trouble in the last run in the chase position. Now in the lead position, Ryan can't just simply relax and assume it's going to be
Ryan Acevedo gets the advance in the white 350Z.
All right, we just lost a little bit of communications right there, but it looks like Ryan Acevedo is going to get the win. Ryan Acevedo getting the win and moving on to the next round of competition. Well earned, well deserved, and Colette, even though unfortunately she won't be moving on, definitely has a lot to be proud of. She's come out here to Pro-Am and she decided to go ahead and hang with the tougher guys in town, and she's done a great job showing out, being part of the community, and we at least got to see her put together a good run to go out on a high note.
Oh yeah, she went out swinging. I like seeing that for drivers. I'm happy Acevedo got a great chase run, and I get to say his name a little bit more, so it's a good, fun name.
Yeah, and while this is Colette's first competition at the Pro-Am level, we know that for Ryan Acevedo, he is one of our regulars, so we knew it was going to be a tall task. I know that he's happy to put in work, and it was a great chance for him to be able to just get, to see what is probably going to be one of his more future competitors. I mean, he got a little taste of Colette Davis, and we saw some mistakes out of her, and then he got to be in the chase position to watch first close. He had the best seat in the house to watch her put together a great lead run. So while he got to go and move advanced past his competitor that he hasn't had to run into with us, I'm sure that if she sticks around, he's going to have to worry about her showing up again.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're seeing those kind of runs. If the chase run was a little bit more crisp from Colette, you could have very different results for moving on. But that lead was phenomenal from Colette, and it was great to see.
All right, this next one is going to be Christian Catrone against Andrew Grindle. So here we go. Andrew Grindle's going to be in the chase. Christian Catrone's going to give it. We have a Corvette versus Corvette battle. Almost a little bit of contact right there, but some toe-to-toe action making their way around that outside zone. They're mirroring each other. You can even tell even more just based on the side. They have the exact same car profile as they make their way out here. Both these cars very well tuned to each other. Lots of proximity as they come through this transition, giving each other just enough room, a little bit of contact, and back on the throttle as they cross the line.
Doors, baby! Oh, mercy how he came in hot and spicy. I love kind of seeing that right there, especially when you got these competitors out here just slanging it into that first outer zone. My goodness, coming into that first outer zone and the chase, getting nice and close to him, getting doors all the way around that first outer zone. Inner clip is fantastic, gives him some room to transition, and he just surges back onto his door, changing his Spotify playlist, maybe putting some Taylor Swift saying, hey, it's a party in the USA maybe, or Miley Cyrus.
And Andrew Grindle doing a good job rising to the occasion when it came to just, I mean, you used the right words, giving him just enough room, and we saw some really good expertise there in the last choke point where we see the really quick hairpin just come up on these drivers. Has been sneaking up on a lot of them, and Andrew Grindle had very little room, and we saw some left foot brake action to just let his lead car's bumper just scoot by. So I'm sure Christian knows just how close he was. I mean, they were door to door the entire time. I guarantee that they were mimicking each other so well that every time Christian hit the throttle, he heard another engine of the same exact car rev up to. For a moment, he might have thought he had two engines in the car.
Oh, it was so great to see. Now we're going to have them switch sides. Josh Stewart is now going to be in the chase, and we have Daniel now in the lead. Let's see what is going to happen for this now. He has to actually make a spectacular chase run as well to be able to compete in this battle and move on. So we're waiting for the lights. And here we go. Daniel is going to be in the lead with that red Chevy Corvette. Oh, this looks like a restart. They're going to come back around, get set a good run. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Correction on that previous drivers. There's Andrew in the lead, and Catrone is in the chase. Now, we're going to have these guys come out there. They're going to get set up and try to get a nice line coming in. Here they go. Red Chevy Corvette coming in. Got to slow down a little bit. Dove into that first outer zone. Here he comes, coming all the way around. Black Chevy Corvette, red Chevy Corvette, coming into that inner clip. Here comes that second outer zone. A little bumper scraping. Oh! Doors, baby, all the way around to that final outer zone. Oh, into the inner clip. Here's the transition. My goodness, how he is staying on throttle throughout that whole time. Wow.
That was a close and aggressive battle. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. It was a little bit of a weird entry. We saw a little bit of change in speed, and then Andrew Grindle looks like in the lead position. Unfortunately, looks like he might have dropped 2 tires on outer zone 1, and you can see it there on the drone footage on the action replay there. We have to abide by those chalk lines. We keep putting them in the same location, and Andrew Grindle looks like both of his rear tires might have dropped off. But aside from that, I mean, these guys were partying the whole run. Those are the types of runs I like to see. That was absolutely an honor to watch.
Looks like they're out there being rowdy and just having a good time, which is a great thing, especially when you're doing this kind of battles and getting excited.
All right, and we got a winner there. Christian Catrone is going to move on. Christian Catrone is moving on to the grade 8 of competition.
Great job by both drivers. And Christian's going to go back, get refitted. We're going to wait for the next drivers to come out here, and it's going to be a fun run by these 2 drivers.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate. Some of these runs that are a lot of fun to watch, there's a lot of things that are not always able to be seen by the spectators. If you're not here joining us live in person, we have spectators all kind of sitting on the latter part of the track. So that first corner is not really within view. That's why we're really thankful that we have Fly Day Drones out here. Fly Day Drones has always joined us at US Drift Circuit. He does a great job getting us the things that we can't see from our tower up here. We do the best to, even with this elevation, see as much action as we can, and there's just not enough that we can do. So Fly Day is really what gives us the tools that we need to properly have this competition, spot things like that, because while that was a lot of fun to watch, 2 tires off is 2 tires off, and the drivers need to rise to the occasion of staying within the lines.
Yeah, definitely with going into the whole drone and how it changes the whole game of drifting, especially if you're at home watching the live feed. You might be looking at it and seeing something that the live audience are just seeing smoke at times. And depending on the humidity out there, the smoke is actually going to settle in, and it's actually harder to see it. But luckily today we have a nice day. There's some wind going through, got some breeze, and drinking some water as well.
And we got more battles coming up for you. We're not going anywhere, but we'll just have a couple minutes here of commercials. Let's just give you a couple quick words from our sponsors.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Nico Christides, the owner of Golden Grown. I started a hemp farm in Sierra Valley, California for my autistic daughter, Elena, and my CBD is 100% organic. The difference between THC and CBD is all natural. It's 100% organic. THC is mind-altering. That's not what Golden Grown sells. Golden Grown sells an experience of an organic, natural supplement to make you relax. One of our best sellers is a CBD oral strip. It is absolutely amazing. 100% organic, FDA approved. You take a strip out, you put it on your tongue, it dissolves in your mouth, and it's total relaxation, stress reliever in about 20 minutes. I wouldn't sell something to you that I wouldn't personally have in my own home. Stay tuned for our newest Golden Grown's Bake and Blaze. We are the first and only original home of CB pizza.
Instagram, YouTube. Station.
All right, welcome back with us here at Sebring International Raceway for U.S. Drift Circuit Round 2 of Formula Drift Pro-Am. And we're doing the best we can here to move throughout the day. If you know it and you're a Florida local, weather changes at a split second, and we're starting to see a little bit of clouds roll in. We just felt a little bit of drizzle on track. So we have track staff out there doing the best they can to just try and make better of poor conditions if it does start to rain a little bit more. Moving some of that dust out of the way, because we already talked about that tire dust being like ice. If there's tire dust and there's rain or there's oil and there's all just a mixture of things, then it's going to be more like Disney on Ice out here than it's going to be like a Pro-Am competition. So we want to do our best to just look out for the drivers.
Do you want to build a snowman? No, definitely with this track conditions, you gotta make sure it's in peak performance, and especially with going into making sure nothing is blocking the area and getting situation done. Going into the final outer zone, they're actually repainting it as well. So the crew out here has been working well to get everything situated. You also see the guy in the transition actually using a leaf blower to get it.
Yeah, and we had some traffic up here in the booth because we're doing a lot up here. So we'll be managing the track. We're trying to manage drivers. Also, the judges are up here. We as announcers are up here. So we've got our little headquarters up here, just trying to make everything work. As you can see, just there on the stream, we had a couple bodies crossing across the camera, and it's just inevitable. But it looks like we're almost done with the track cleanup, and so we can talk a little bit about the drivers that we see up at the line who are probably about to enter the burnout box. We have Sasha Prospero and Brian Cox are going to be the next battle for us today. And this is your first time getting to know these drivers. What's the impressions these two have made on you?
Sasha is an animal. When he was doing the quals yesterday, he unleashed his inner demon going into that final outer zone, squatted down, three-wheeled it most of the way around, which is great to see. And man, every Chevy Corvette I've seen out here has been doing a fantastic job, even sending flames out of the back of it. So everybody out here, especially being my first time being in the U.S. Drift Circuit, oh man, it's a great time. If you guys are watching at home, definitely come out and check us out. It's a great time. We have food trucks, we have music. Last night's music was amazing as well, and it's all the drivers are cool as hell. We're seeing the golf carts going around the first outer zone, getting a nice angle. These guys are hard working today, man, throughout the whole track with this heat and getting everything situated.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Nico Christides, the owner of Golden Grown. I started a hemp farm in Sierra Valley, California for my autistic daughter, Elena, and my CBD is 100% organic. The difference between THC and CBD is all natural. It's 100% organic. THC is mind-altering. That's not what Golden Grown sells. Golden Grown sells an experience of an organic, natural supplement to make you relax. One of our best sellers is a CBD oral strip. It is absolutely amazing. 100% organic, FDA approved. You take a strip out, you put it on your tongue, it dissolves in your mouth, and it's total relaxation, stress reliever in about 20 minutes. I wouldn't sell something to you that I wouldn't personally have in my own home. Stay tuned for our newest Golden Grown's Bacon Blaze. We are the first and only original home of CB pizza.
Instagram, YouTube. Station.
All right, welcome back there. Welcome back again to Sebring International Raceway for U.S. Drift Circuit. So, yeah, we just had to take that intermission there. We're doing the best we can to keep the track clean and just keep the chalk fresh for these drivers as we move deeper into the top 16. Right there, we had a little bit of trouble trying to clean up the tire dust, actually, because we have two parts of this track that come very close to each other. They're both outside zones, so as the tire rubber starts to really cake up, we just have to make this a really narrow pile for them to keep it out of the way without doing a big project just to get rid of all that tire dust.
Yeah, especially when we're about to see some rain coming in today. That's going to make it even extra conditions, especially with having that tire just on that track.
We had a little bit of sprinkles. Luckily, it didn't go for very long. So we're hoping that there's not really much of a change in track conditions. It might have helped cool the track a little bit, but it didn't seem like it was enough water to really moisten the track and make it slippery. So so next battle is going to be pretty exciting. Right now in the burnout box is Sasha Prospero and Brian Cox. Both of these drivers very confident, very consistent. I think this is going to be a real treat for us to watch coming back from commercial break. And they're now leaving the line. Looks like Sasha Prospero is going to lead. Brian Cox is going to be in the chase. Let's see how Sasha's going to go. He goes with a feint entry into the outside zone. A little bit of a gap. Brian Cox shortening his line a little bit just to cut closer and get door to door as they come through this inner clip as they transition to the second sweeper. Again, Sasha Prospero with full commitment on the throttle. She is engine revving up all the way through the peak of RPM as he makes his way around here. Really consistent angle as he comes through the last couple clips. Brian Cox doing a great job, finally able to reel him in. And a clean run for both drivers as they make their way across the line.
Wow. That was an interesting run towards the end, especially with Sasha coming in and not getting the full use of the track. We're going to see the replay come up shortly, but if he used all of the track, he would be able to nail that final inner clip. You see him come in, getting a nice fill out on the first outer zone, and then the transition going into that second outer zone, going all the way around. He is riding it, flirting with the line a little bit, kicking up some dust, some flour. And then right here, he didn't have enough juice to actually dive back into that final inner clip.
Yeah, on those last two clips, it looks like he was just a little bit not as close to them as he needed to be, and I think he just pivoted the car. He flicked it way too hard, and his car is pretty grippy now. He's already had a very competitive car coming out of last season, but this year it's just a whole different beast, and so I saw him he flicked really hard. It put him too far away from that clip, and there's just not enough room that there's anything you can do, and watching the replay this one last time as he makes his way around, yeah, we see the transition. He's just too far on the inside, and that even sets him up to be a little too far away from the last clip. So. But other than that, amazing lead run, and Brian Cox doing everything he could to get close and reel him in.
We're in the middle of the battle. It's halfway through. We can't do a tight lap halfway through.
Coming down pretty good. Like, I'm out there in the rain. It's definitely a condition change.
All right, so now as we are finishing up just reviewing this replay and the judges are assessing who's got the advantage, the rain is really now just starting to come down, and just a split second, conditions are changing, and this is definitely not just a light drizzle anymore. We've now got a warm welcome from some Florida rain, and now we're going into our second run in the middle of the rain. Brian Cox and Sasha Prospero not even phased, and they're going door to door with it really slick out there.
Oh, no.
And we got Brian Cox out in the grass, and Sasha Prospero just trying to do the best he can to make of this poor weather. We're going to have to see how the interpretation of that is going to be from the judges, because the weather conditions just changed so quickly, and this is a track condition change that would be seen as such a disadvantage if one car had to go do a run with perfect conditions, and then literally between the lead run and the chase run, now it is just absolutely torrential downpour. So this is going to be a situation where the judges may want to do either a sight lap or a one more time just to make it a fair battle. And new to U.S. Drift Circuit this year, we've got a nice big white tent right now, and I'm sure all of the spectators are getting nice and cozy over there. I see you guys over there just getting cozy, and it's been a long day. I'm sure if you guys haven't had time to introduce yourselves to each other, you got plenty of time now.
Hey, Josh, you just keep me updated on the...
All right, so the judges have made a deliberation on the change in track conditions, and we are going to have a one more time battle between Sasha Prospero and Brian Cox. Unfortunately, the change in weather is just such a disadvantage that it's not fair to judge the battle that way, because we had perfectly dry conditions in one run, and just to show how quick track conditions can change here in a state like Florida during the summer, we now just have complete pooling water all over the track. So they're going to line it back up and give it one more chance, and we'll just have to see what happens from that point on. They're currently being informed that by the track staff, and they will go ahead and line back up again. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us during that brief intermission. We just had to make sure that we batten down the hatches right now while it was just torrential downpour in a split second. So, I mean, you just moved here to Florida. Are you used to this yet?
Yeah, at times it kind of gets funny because I'll be outside. I think I sent you guys in a group chat of me going outside, looking at my front door, and I'm seeing rain come down, and then I just see a wall of rain coming towards me, and I hid for cover. It was a pretty funny video, and it was all captured on a Ring door cam.
Yeah, things changed very quickly here in a blink of an eye, and there's not even a lot of elevation changes on this track, but the amount of water that comes down, it just forces puddles to form, and now the drivers are going to have to adapt to this. So the run that you just saw, if you're just joining us on the stream, was not drivers just simply doing a run. That was actually the sight lap, because our next run here is going to be between Louis Lunds and Steven Tassanaro, both very talented drivers, and we're sure there's going to be a great battle. But in dry conditions, we know that. In wet conditions, we're not so sure how this is going to be. So just watching that sight lap, it looks like they're trying to experiment. They get a lap to figure out where there's grip and where there's not grip.
Yeah, and what I noticed too is compared to what we were seeing yesterday with dry conditions, we were telling them to throttle it out all the way through that final outer zone. I saw Lewis coming in, left foot braking just to keep his car in that spot and using some throttle modulation to try to get him all the way around. So this, just being you guys seeing it being dry and what we tell you guys, just by a simple rainfall that we had, it's going to affect the track tremendously.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's only one thing that's worse than Florida on a hot day, and that's during a hot day after it rains, when the sun comes back out just to steam you like a bag of crab legs. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people here in Florida who are fans of seafood, love crafty crab, but I myself don't like to be treated like the crabs in those bags and just be steamed by this humidity and this heat all at once. So now it's pretty muggy out, but Steven Tassanaro in the lead, Louis Lunds in the chase. Let's see if they're going to be able to battle the weather here. Right now, Steven Tassanaro doing a good job staying wide. It looks like he might have a two-tire drop as they make their way through these puddles, and both these cars practically hydroplaning their way around the track. We don't stop. It is rain or shine drifting here at US Drift Circuit as Steven Tassanaro makes his way on this outer zone. Now both cars have plenty of power to make sure they're filling the zone, so they should use and take all their time with the lack of grip here to just fill every zone, because line is really all you can focus on. You can't go full lock in the rain, and you cannot do much else as far as speed. So taking time, just getting your line down, and it looks like both drivers did the best they could to make with the weather.
Yeah, and this shows tremendous, especially when you're coming in from dry conditions to straight wet, and you're like, all right, now I got to put out a banger of a run. And how they maintained their composure throughout the whole run was fantastic to see. And even going into that final outer zone, we saw Lewis kind of slowing down a little bit, kind of just making sure he doesn't make subtle movements. We'll see that first outer zone with possibly a two-tire drop we see from the lead car coming in, getting a nice proximity and chase. Transition is very smooth, but then he has to throttle on a little bit to get that final outer zone all the way around. And then we've seen the proximity come in with that Chevy Corvette and trying to keep it. But we have them coming out right now. Chevy Corvette is in the lead. That's Chazzy in the chase, going all the way out to that first outer zone, filling it out, going into that final inner clip, the first inner clip, excuse me. Coming out here, filling out that second outer zone. Let's get some good proximity from the chase. There he is. Now he's trying to bother him a little bit, saying, hey, I'm right here. I'm not leaving you. Coming in, going to that final inner clip, and that was a solid lead run by that driver.
So both drivers clearly taking their time to get through this course. I mean, they really can't move through the course with any more speed than what we just saw. I mean, the conditions are just fierce, and this is already pavement that's not too grippy. I mean, this is basically like giant concrete slabs that are all just placed right next to each other in this latter portion of the track, and when it gets wet, it just gets really slick. So these drivers doing the best they can to just put something together. It looks like there could have been a tire drop by both drivers. I'm not sure if one of them might have dropped two tires, so we'll let the judges deliberate here, and we'll see what's going to happen. And hopefully, as the sun comes out and the clouds start to go away a little bit, we can see some drier conditions later on in competition.
Now we see the judges made the decision. Lewis continues on in this competition We're having our next drivers come up to the burnout box. Oh, yeah.
All right, so Lewis Lund's moving on to the grade 8. Lewis Lund's moving on to the grade 8. Steven Tassinaro, unfortunately, looked like he had made some mistakes out there on track, and they just surmounted to be more mistakes than Lewis Lund's. I mean,
Yeah.
they're both phenomenal drivers. I'm sure they were hoping that they'd come out here and throw it down, put some giant smoke clouds out there, but unfortunately, they just got a wrench thrown in their way, and they had to stitch something together.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how these guys could actually just be so resilient in different kind of temps and all. I'm enjoying this, and especially I think we're gonna see the one more time from the previous battle. So the one thing I have to get used to with Florida is seeing unique vehicles. Like we see that jet ski on a motorcycle riding around pits. Yeah, it's a different breed. I'm not used to seeing that out here.
Yeah, if it rains anymore, the the jet ski on wheels is probably a good thing to have. I mean, if it gets too flooded, then you're just going to start floating. I wouldn't be surprised if people down here make the wildest things, and they also make them well. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a version of that is actually truly amphibious and still has the onboard engine on it.
All right, looks like our one more time is going to the burnout box right now
Hey, how you doing?
to warm up the tires.
All right, so now in the burnout box is Sasha Prospero and Brian Cox doing a one more time battle. We saw these guys out on track already once, and we got one clean run in the dry, and then between the next run, unfortunately conditions have changed so quickly. So they're going in the burnout box really just to splash water around and create some puddles. There's not too much temperature you can get in the tires in the wet. You can do a little bit of work and just get a little bit of heat in, and that's it's probably better than nothing. But at the same time, in wet conditions, it just is what it is. So right now, Brian Cox is running out on track by himself. Not sure what the reason is here. Oh, this is okay. This is the sight lap now they're both getting a chance to do. So they're going to go independently and just have one opportunity to, again, look for the grip. While the conditions are like this, we're going to go ahead and allow every run to do this. So the drivers are always just going to come out one at a time and do some experimenting with the track, and then we'll send them back for their 2 runs.
You see Sasha out there putting out a line. He still looks gripped, even though the wet conditions.
go to live feed of the cars?
I'll be sending cars with Hunter by the media box with the golf cart. Alright, wait. Copy. Yeah, we'll wait till the golf carts are in place.
Oh. We got a man down with the drone.
I just dropped the drone on the track. Calm down, hold track. Come back with the golf cart. Hurry up. Hurry up the car gap.
Hold it.
Restart light.
All right, so we just watched a run go by. So we're going to go ahead and that run is going to be one that counts. The only reason we weren't announcing through that one is because it was a little hairy of a situation. I don't know if you were watching the Jumbotron if you're here or the live stream, but just before the light went green, the drone that gets all of our drone footage actually was out in the air, and it got killed, and it just landed right there on the pavement, and then the light went green at the same exact time. So we're going to go ahead and let them do that run and just try to orient. We let them do that run. Yeah, that's a so it's a legitimate run out there. We're not going to redo the run. That's going to go ahead and count. The judges were paying attention to the run as it was happening, and we were just waiting to make sure that we didn't say anything too early, make sure that run actually counted. So that was your first run there, and we're just not going to have the drone replay footage for it, but we're up here high enough in the air in the judges' booth that the judges are able to take into consideration all the factors it takes to score a run.
All right, we're going to see Sasha and Cox perform a run right here. Sasha's going to be in the chase. Brian Cox is in the lead with that Chevy Corvette coming in with a nice, generous flick into it. Sasha is now trying to get that proximity, getting a nice, smooth chase run going into this inner clip. And now we see Brian come and using some left foot braking, going all the way around to try to get that angle in. Now that final outer zone all the way around. Sasha is trying to get that proximity. Looks like he e-braked a little bit so he can slow down and not make contact with the lead car. A little left foot braking from Sasha. And that was a strange run for Sasha from what we saw, but it's definitely the weather conditions.
And then we got the fly day drone back up in the air for the second half of that run. So we were able to get the drone retrieved. Everything is good with fly day drones. Very quick on with this team to get out there, work with US Drift Circuit staff to retrieve the drone off track and get everything fixed up with the drone super quickly to get back in the air. So very happy to see that. And now that was the second run of this, so we're going to go ahead and let the judges deliberate, and hopefully we've got a winner out of this. It's very difficult to see these drivers drive at their full potential like I know they planned on today, but hopefully we both of them can be proud of the performance that they were able to make out of that horrible conditions on track.
The one thing I noticed is towards the end that Sasha shallowed up on his line to try to get onto Brian Cox's door, but that might be looked at by the judges. We have them sitting and waiting to figure out what is the call. Judges are being very consistent with their calls throughout the day and trying to get a possible deliberation on what is going to go on for the decision. So what do you think for this run? What would you first be critiquing for both of them?
Yeah, I mean, in these runs, you really can't critique too much against them. They're really just trying to make as little mistakes as possible. It's very difficult to not make any mistakes in the rain, and it's also very difficult to do a lot of the criteria the judges were talking about in the drivers' meeting as far as being committed to the throttle, filling out the full zones.
Yep.
It's just not going to happen in poor conditions. You're just going to try your best to stop the car from spinning. All right, Brandon Cox is moving on. Brandon Cox is moving on to our grade 8. So we're seeing a lot shaken up here. Sasha Prospero usually doing a great job in points and great job in competition, getting knocked out in top 16. And we also saw Nick Ward leave us early, getting knocked out by wildcard Alex Puig coming out of the hat with a whole bunch of better driving skill than what we had seen exhibited yesterday. And so now, I mean, this is only round 2. It just shows that anything can happen in the championship. And now already we're seeing one of our points leaders be completely moved out of the way. And if it's one of our mid-grid people from last round that takes into the finals or even gets on the podium at all, it could be enough to be a new championship points leader.
Yeah, especially when you're coming into the whole competition-wise, when you're talking about the points and getting in there. Some of these guys are out here to try to get that license at the end of the season. So that's a very vital role, especially when you're dealing with different track conditions. You got to be prepared for all that. Be resilient on it.
And our next competitors going into the burnout box, we have Doug Santana and Ryan Kaufman with Taxi Garage. Doug Santana, always a regular out here at U.S. Drift Circuit events. Not just U.S. Drift Circuit events, actually. Doug Santana is one of those drivers you could find at almost any large public drift event, whether it's a competition or just an open fun day. And then Ryan Kaufman out here representing Taxi Garage. Not a new face to South Florida drifting scene, but we haven't been able to see him this late in competition in the past due to his later participation, being that he was unfortunately having a lot of steering issues, even having some engine issues. Now he's coming back to competition with all complete brand new steering parts to make sure he's not having any issues with lack of feeling in the steering, and he's even supercharged his engine, giving him about 200 or 300 more horsepower than what he had before. So I was watching him lean into that car, get used to the feel of it, and it seems like he's doing a good job making it his own now.
Yeah, especially yesterday, we saw him struggle with that final outer zone and trying to get his back end filling out all the way around to try to throttle in. Maybe those wet conditions is actually going to work in his favor.
Yeah, and Ryan Kaufman, he's used to having a little bit less power, and he's also been driving here in Florida for over 10 years. He's got lots of driving experience under his belt, so driving in the rain is definitely not something that's foreign to him. And right now they're about to do their sight lap. Ryan Kaufman's going to go ahead and check it out first. We may be able to see a demonstration of that with just how comfortable he can be in the rain. So we hear a little bit of low pitch out of his engine, and that's because all he's trying to do is just get enough wheel speed to keep the car sideways. He doesn't want to get too greedy on wheel speed. He just wants to have consistent throttle modulation, and that's why you can hear a little bit of just feathering on the throttle, not a ton of angle, nothing trying to be showboaty, and is at least just focusing on the line, because when it's wet outside, you can't really get a ton of angle and you can't get a ton of speed, so line is where you want to critique yourself, and Douglas Santana is going to go ahead and do that as well. As he makes his way around here, you can hear again the same flips of the throttle. So it looks like they both know exactly what they're going to have to do. Now just to see them do it as side by side with each other as they can get.
It's good to see that he didn't need that much throttle to get through each zone during the sight lap, and we just got to see pretty much the same thing what he's doing here on the sight lap as the lead run, and in the chase, need to be aggressive. Don't keep it up to the judges' hands, and be a fantastic show out here.
So now they're going to go ahead and head back to the starting line, and we're going to go ahead and put one in the lead position. And both these guys are with LS swaps, completely different chassis, though. One in RX-7 and one in BMW E46. And both of them grippy in completely different ways. Yep. Doug Santana's car has a lot of side bite in the dry, and Ryan Kaufman's actually has grip in all the opposite directions. Whenever he's on the gas, his car just operates as a spear. And the big part of that is that he came out with more power and not a lot of changes in the suspension to know how he was going to have to compensate with that. So he's really dealing with the same tires he's always been on and just trying to manipulate the car with a little bit of different tire pressures. I was talking with him earlier in the pits, and he basically said that that's really all he's going to plan to do today is just work with the tire pressure on the car and just try to learn as much as he can do with what he's given this weekend. He just got this car upgraded this way and hasn't had a chance to test it before today. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. We have the BMW in the lead. We have the chassis. Here he comes into the first outer zone, being shallow into the outer zone. We are seeing that proximity come into play. The wetness of this track is giving him a huge struggle. Going into this final outer zone, has to work on the throttle control. It's a little bit of a bobble. And oh my goodness, this is a midline going all the way around for the lead. Might be an unchaseable lead from the lead driver over here.
Yeah, so a great demonstration right there of just, really in this kind of condition, you can't expect for everything to be super fluid. And what you really look for in a demonstration of what the driver skill is how they're using different minutiae like their e-brake, when to get on the gas and when to get on their foot brake. As you can see, Doug Santana and Ryan Kaufman both exercising all of those techniques as they're following each other. I mean, Ryan Kaufman right there is switching between e-brake checking, getting on the gas, left foot braking, and just doing that dance over and over again to be able to keep his car positioned where it needs to be. And doing all of that to just adjust the position positioning of his nose, the rear end, and being able to stay pretty close while they do it. It's not a super exciting run to watch just because of how slow they have to move through the water, but he did a great job at least staying close for most of the run. But they got to do their best to at least stay on throttle. It's okay to be timid not being on the gas because you don't want to spin, but you do need to at least have enough throttle inputs that you're still in drift and don't look like you're scrubbing and about to straighten, and still keep it between the lines. So the judges already looking at this replay and have a lot to say on it to look at what they need to scrutinize. And as we go into the second half of this run, we're hoping that we can see the drivers get just a little bit more confident in the wet.
It was a fantastic showing at Chase. Now we're going to have him in the lead and see how he performs at the lead, trying to give a good lead run and a chaseable run. And nice, good big flick into that first outer zone, going all the way around, being nice and consistent and smooth with the angle and speed. Now we need to see the chase driver try to get that proximity as that lead driver gets a nice, smooth transition into the outer zone, going all the way around and being as buttery smooth as possible in these wet conditions. And here's the final interclip where everybody's been struggling, and he is taking it wide.
There we go. We saw a little bit more speed coming through that run, and now the track conditions are starting to change again on us, and it's starting to be this middle ground of conditions where things can be really tricky, especially with the way that this concrete is put together. The latter portion of the track is not made out of consistent tarmac placed down the way that we see in turn one. It's actually just a bunch of slabs of concrete put together, so where they all meet up, there's chances for the water to puddle. And right now we're seeing that it's drying out on part of the line, and there's still a lot of puddling out there, so the drivers are going to be trying to find where the grip is, and also trying to avoid getting caught up by just little dabs of moisture that can be enough to completely grab the momentum that they've gotten in the dry areas and just cause the car to spin.
Yeah, there's a huge puddle on the area right where they initiate, and they have to kind of avoid that.
All right, so it looks like Ryan Kaufman's going to get the win. Ryan Kaufman with Taxi Garage advancing further into U.S. Drift Circuit competition than we've had the honor of seeing him go before. Also knocking out one of the Titans that we usually see as a repeat out here. So Ryan Kaufman with Taxi Garage is going to be moving on. So this far in the competition, we're not going to have Nick Ward. Instead, Ryan Kaufman's going to be the Taxi Garage representative. All right, so we got someone else we're going to put on microphone here. We have Dustin Motors. I'm just convinced Dustin Motors is your legal first and last name at this point.
I mean, basically is. I introduce myself, hi, this is Dustin with Dustin Motors every single time. But, you know, I just want to let everybody know that a huge fan of the team here and everybody, and I'm helping right now in the pits getting interviews. Love bringing on the new aspect with the Assetto. We were talking about it last night. Super exciting stuff going on, some behind closed doors, but also they're bringing it up, saying, hey, we're going to be doing some really cool stuff with that. So I'm excited. The online esports is huge, so love to see that. But one thing I do want to say is everybody that's sticking out in the rain, how are you guys doing? Make some noise, guys. I know it's hot, it's muggy. You're soaked. I see you in the red. Absolutely, man. Love all of you guys for coming out and repping everybody out here and supporting this. That's one big thing that you guys are doing on this live stream. You might not even know. Helping support this in every little way gives every bit back to these drivers. I know Chris Jackson does everything in his power to do everything he can for all these guys. So definitely all love here, and I'm super pumped to have you guys here. And hopefully I'll get back on the mic up here, guys, with these guys soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Dustin, and we know we're going to have a little bit of footage from him later while he hasn't been up here with us today. I know you've gotten a chance to go talk to some of the drivers today, get up and personal. That's something that we haven't had the chance to do. You've done the announcing with me up here before, but now you got to go in and talk to them. So what's a little bit different of the narrative that you get when you get to actually say, like, okay, now I'm going to talk face-to-face with these faces that we've talked about from a distance, but now you get to have real conversations with them?
The best part is it's my friends. It's people that I've been driving with, known. I just got to talk to Steven, for a good minute, and I literally was in the interview. I told him, like, you were one of the titans of OSW, one of the people that I saw drifting that went from being good to great, and now you're coming out on a Pro-Am stage and competing and being amazing. I mean, during practice, he was definitely the best chase driver I saw out there. And it's just phenomenal to see, getting to see people in their highs and their lows, talking to somebody that just won a battle against somebody they weren't expecting, or they're having car issues and they're challenging it. It's cool to see that raw emotion because it's not always captured. We don't get to see what's going on in car up here. We don't need to get to see what's going on, how their butt dyno's going, how their foot's feeling, what's going on with the shifting. This is a hard one. You have to shift on this. The gearing for most of these cars, they're going from a second to third, or from a third down to a second. Some cars are going from a third to a fourth, fourth to a third. That's why you're seeing so many movements, and it's crazy these drivers are doing it and then getting to hang out with them. So pretty pumped.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dustin. And you don't have to be the Dustin Motors to be able to have that kind of hands-on experience. One of the things that's great is when you take the time to actually come to these events in person, all of these drivers, for the most part, are super approachable. If it's not in the moment of competition, there's always a second where they can step aside and they're happy to answer questions about their build. It makes it hard not to be even bigger fans. And as we move into this next battle, thank you so much, Dustin. Have a good afternoon there. And we're going to go into our next battle right here. And right now, again, we're doing our sight lap. We have Eric Noguera as well as Davey Peoples, just getting an idea again at what these condition changes are going to be like. And as we heard Dustin mention, the different shifting patterns that these guys have to follow out here is just another added difficulty that they're going to face when they're just trying to make sure that they can figure out where there's grip, to also stick to all of their fundamentals and the specific things that are demanded of just this layout in particular.
Yeah, we were talking just earlier with Dustin, and he's actually going to be on the recap on YouTube. So it's great to see everybody working all along together like a happy family.
Yeah, and Eric Noguera out there, he's not someone that we would say is specifically a Jackson Performance title sponsor, but if you've been around Jackson Performance for the longest time, we've always identified ourselves as Jackson Performance and friends. So I definitely say that Eric Noguera falls in that category. He's rocking the Jackson Performance sticker, and he's a regular to show up with Chris Jackson at the drift shop and worry about what the best thing is that could be on his car and how to get more competitive. So him just not as a driver, but as someone that's really putting a lot of effort into the craft that he's bringing out here and the machine he plans to compete with. It's really great because we get to see not just the driver, but the car evolve on a very personal level. So very happy to see him out here today. It looks like he's going to be in the lead position to start out this next battle. He's going to be in the shift culture lead lane, and then in the golden grown chase lane, we're going to have Davey Peoples, and they are off the line as they make their way through the chicane. They're a little bit separated, and they're going to need to get a little bit closer, or else Davey Peoples is going to have some work cut out for him. Eric Noguera carrying him out of a mid-line, not really making his way all the way out to the zone until the very end of the run, punting that outer clip as he makes his way throughout the rest of the course. Now he's going to need to keep it under control. This is all the part that's right in front of the judges' stand, and as you can see, there's some tire smoke back on track. And making their way through the rest of the course. Pretty messy driving from both drivers, but at the same time, as you can see, that's exactly how different the conditions are throughout the track now. It is spotty. You can clearly see water, but we also just got a hint of tire smoke there, which means there are dry patches and there are wet patches.
That is going to be a weird
these guys to show up, but at least the fact that that last corner is dry is a good sign that some more dry conditions are yet to come. And looking up at the weather right now, it doesn't look like there's a ton of gray clouds out there in the distance. And knock on wood, because of course things here in Florida can change very quickly. But very excited to see this run now, as we see Fellow is going to be there under the Shift Culture lead tent. There we go. Nice initiation by the lead driver. Let's see if he's going to be able to make use of the pavement and try to find the grip. Right now, a massive gap between these two drivers. We'd like to see a lot better proximity. We don't want to see any chance of an inactive chase being judged against any of the drivers. Right now, we see full commitment on this outer zone. This is where it's all dry, so he's going to need to stay all the way on the gas. And then as he makes his way past this clip, he's going to need to kill all of that wheel speed coming into this touch and go so he doesn't over-rotate. He finds a little bit of grip, and right here he's going to get all the way on the throttle, and they're door-to-door coming across the line.
That was a really, really good chase, especially towards the end. He got that nice proximity, but he was getting gapped in the first outer zone. Trying to see how the driver dives into his inner clip, and he does a fantastic job on the lead. But the unfortunate thing is how he had to cut the track to get that surge all the way into that final inner clip. So we'll see how they perform. We're going to have the drivers go out and flip-flop. All right, now we got our drivers coming out here, coming in with a huge handbrake initiation into that first outer zone, but staying shallow on that line. Now he has to dive into that first inner clip with extreme angle, just trying to put out a spectacular performance on lead, but he tends to be missing out the zones. Now he reaches out towards the final of that outer zone, and he has to flick it on in there, dive into that final inner clip. That initiation was huge in angle. We're seeing him coming in on that first initiation, and he does get extreme angle, but it seems like he had forward bite, getting a shallow line. The judges are deliberating on it as we see how the lines are going throughout the replay.
All right, so Fellow in the red E36 going to get the win. Fellow going to get the win and move on to our grade 8. Great job by Fellow. Once again, Fellow's another one of these guys, a Florida native as far as the drifting scene. He's been around here for a long time, driven at a ton of different tracks, including many that are closed now. He was even around back at Central Florida Racing Complex. For people who have been around, that is a name that's definitely burns. Oh, yeah, and also a former Prospect driver fellow. So great to see him out here. We know he definitely has a lot of experience behind the wheel, and he's certainly not getting rusty. He's out here, and he's having a good time.
So no sight laps for them because I think the conditions are pretty similar to the first run. Let's go ahead and put them in the burnout box.
Copy that.
Start line, make sure they know that they are not getting sight laps.
Copy that. I'm gonna wheel at them now.
Thank you.
Starting with this battle, right?
Well, just this one because it's a one.
All right, guys, so coming up to the line now, we're about to do a one more time battle that's going to wrap up our top 16 and get us ready for our grade 8. That's going to be between Davey Peoples and Eric Nogura. They have to do a one more time battle after both drivers warranted a 0 in their previous run. The judges, rather than vote for the other runs that they did, just wanted to have them do a one more time. So they're coming into the burnout box right now, and once we finish this one more time, we will be officially into our grade 8. We are going to take a brief pause for a moment, so don't go anywhere. Stick right with us, and I think our grade 8's shaping up to look pretty good. What do you think we got so far?
I'm actually excited. We see how competitions evolve, especially with drifting. The top 32, they're just trying to get their feet wet, no pun intended. But going into the whole situation on like top 32, some of these drivers, they're just all right. They're not giving all crazy driving. They're actually getting their nice, consistent driving, just trying to get into the top 16. Top 16, they turn it up just a little bit to try to get into the grade 8. Now it's going to get more like sriracha, not mild sauce that you get in Taco Bell.
And we can also see right now, too, as they're doing the burnout box, we can actually see some clouds of smoke once again. So we're seeing this track dry out pretty well. We have just a little bit of partially clouded skies, no real gray overcast that's covering everything and threatening us with more rain as of right now. And those little gaps of sunlight we're getting is putting in work to help dry out the track, along with the cars that have driven on it so far. So since this is a one more time battle and they've already been out in these poor conditions, there is no sight lap. So this is going to be run 1 with Eric Nogura in the lead. Davey Peoples giving chase. They're doing pretty good at getting close to each other at the start. Let's see if there's not going to be a gap. Oh, Eric Nogura shutting it down and exiting stage right.
Was that a restart? Did you guys activate the restart light? Yeah, that was me. Nagura dragged a cone.
So it looks like that is going to be a restart. That's the reason why you saw Eric Nogura just exit stage right over there, is because they saw the restart light go off. Eric Nogura unfortunately snagged a cone on his way off the line, and so they're getting restarted. No trouble right there. That's just going to be able to get a chance to get the nerves out, get back to the line, and hopefully come at it with more aggression. And this is great because, I mean, because of the fact that it's a one more time and it was just a stalemate there in scores, they now got some runs they just got to do. They got a little bit of practice. They're going to get to come out here and hopefully place down some heaters and some conditions more familiar to how they've been practicing all weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And he probably just wanted a souvenir. That's all. He's like, hey, I want to take a souvenir when I go to the grade 8. We never know. But we're waiting for the track crew to get off the track to get situated. There was a cone down. We're seeing Eric now in the lead. Davey Peoples is going to be in the chase with that Ford Mustang being rowdy out here. Eric Nogura being a flamethrower last night. Let's see what he does with the Chevy Corvette coming into the first outer zone, filling it out, riding it all the way deep. Davey Peoples needs to get that proximity. Eric Nogura is doing a fantastic job keeping that angle, but it looks like he was very shallow going into that inner clip. Now Eric Nogura is coming in, being rowdy. Davey Peoples coming in to try to sweep that proximity, trying to reel him in like a big old fish going into that final inner clip. And that is a fantastic run from them, especially with the track conditions. Give it up, guys.
Yeah, we did see a little bit of a struggling right there. I mean, well, let's go ahead and look back at this replay. So Eric Nogueira doing a good job getting on that outside line earlier on in initiation. Davey Peoples kind of taking a midline to just try and not fall back too far. Both of them dealing with a lot of moisture right there, and then you can see both of them far away from that inner clip. They got washed out into more moisture and tire marbles there. So unfortunately, they both got really far away from the clip together, and then now we see they come into that dry spot, lots of tire smoke, and then different approaches coming into this last clip. Eric Nogueira seemed a lot more confident than Davey Peoples about what kind of traction and grip was going to be there. And Eric Nogueira took a risk. It looks like it might have paid off at the end, but there is still that big mistake of just being way too far off of that clip. We can see right here on the replay once more as he comes around this transition. I mean, both of them are just so far away from that white cone you can see there on the left side. And now coming into this last zone, too, he's not as far out as we would have liked to see him be. I know it's been raining, and we've seen a little bit of washing out of that white line, but also still plenty of room to improve. And that should all be good news for Davey Peoples because, you know, he didn't fall too far behind. He also wasn't close, and he's just going to need to go ahead and get away with this. Davey Peoples needs to just go throw down a heater of a lead run right now.
Now we're seeing Davey Peoples now in the lead. Eric Nogueira is in the chase. Let's see how rowdy Davey Peoples can be with that Ford Mustang going into that first out of zone. You see him hauling tail, running in like a bat out of hail. Into that first out of zone, being shallow, flirting with that line. Here he comes diving in to that inner clip. And oh, mercy. That could have been a very catastrophic failure there. And Eric Nogueira seems to be struggling to get a chase run with Davey Peoples running around this track.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate and dodgy, and you can just see right there, it seems like both drivers have found grip in completely different places. I mean, Eric Nogueira was in the chase with far more grip right there in the very first corner. He was able to get some tire smoke going on the midline where it's a little bit drier there, and Davey Peoples staying out wide where he's supposed to. It's unfortunately just still a little bit wet out there. There's lots of moisture, and then Eric Nogueira just not giving enough room for the transition and putting himself in the wrong position to have to shut it down not once but twice after he tried to get back into it, and he was just too far off course to make anything of it.
Yeah, it's if you guys see the drone camera from that first initiation going into that first inner clip, the transition that Davey Peoples did was a huge snap, and if Eric Nogueira was a little bit closer, that could have been a bad situation for both drivers.
And we're going to see what the judges make of this run right now. We can hear them in front of us deliberating the call. And again, as a reminder, as soon as we get done with this, we have officially formed our Grade 8. So we are going to take a quick break once we get the answer to this one. And we're going to take the time to just clean up the track a little bit, make the track conditions maybe a little bit more comfortable and more predictable, retrace our lines, which have washed off in the poor conditions. Now that it's dry enough, we can go ahead and repaint our white lines out there. And then we'll come back. So we're just going to look to, we're going to need to take the proper time it takes to do that. We're not going to try to take too long. I wouldn't go anywhere. We don't have anything overhead that's going to be an issue that extends that time. And we should be able to get back to action pretty quick.